Denver Gridiron and Hoops. Welcome back to Denver Gridiron and Hoops, where unfortunately our general manager, well, we don't even have one, I should say president, decided to put the words out there, if I decide to trade number 15. Never want to hear it. I'm David McDougal. This is VMAC, Vinny McDougal. Let's get it.
Let's get it, man. I'm as everybody knows, our Denver Gridiron and Hoops fan. I got to start out with what I smashed. And I got a tip for all you budget-friendly folks out there. I don't care if you got a family. I don't care if you got a girl or if you're single. Breakfast for dinner. That's the way to go. You talking cheap proteins. We threw deli meat ham, on the little stove top. Just give it a little char, makes it feel a little different than just your typical deli meat. Eggs and some $1.99 breakfast biscuits. Works 100% of the time. What is it? 99% of the time, every time, whatever the saying is.
Right?
Give it a shot. If you're really feeling desperate, don't hesitate. Bowl of cereal, especially if you got kids, you're feeling lazy, don't want to do anything. What do you want for dinner? How about some cereal? Just call it a night. I'm telling you, works every time. But yeah, excited to get into the topics today. We got the draft tonight going on, keeping an eye on that. The news from our lovely president, nepotism boy himself. And we'll see where the rest of the show takes us.
Yeah, and in general, so the president, Kroenke, well, they were very particular on what his role was, because I think they called him president, and then they were like, whoa, he's whatever the heck he is. I mean, let's be real, he's running daddy's franchise. So that being said, what kind of threw me off in the press conference in general was, first off, in most of his press conferences, especially this one, he had 2 lines introducing the people and like no context whatsoever. And then he's just like, all right, we're open for questions. Like, what kind of inspiration is that? You can't even give us like a one-liner about anything or anything like that. And like the sheer amount of ums that he said, I mean, I felt embarrassed for him, to tell you the truth, Vinny.
Yeah, we talked about this when it came to the head coaching search. There's no context. There's no, passion behind the search process. Nothing. It's just like, here we are. Here's what the organization can look forward to. What questions you got? So same thing happened with DA and his announcement, where just not much vision going on. And that's what the president's role is. Like, hey, here's the vision I have for our team, our organization. Here's where we're going. We have the best player on the planet. Just throw it out there. Call your shot. Like, hey, we are going to win this offseason. We're going to do everything we can to win this offseason. And I think these 2 guys are that next step, right? Something.
Yeah, sell them a little bit. Poor guys. He's just like, all right, talk.
When you got the job, no matter what you do, because of your DNA, I guess that's what you get.
Yeah, that is a good point. Didn't have to grow up with those business chops. And worth mentioning, we hadn't got a chance to touch on the new GM. That being said, how do you feel about the separation of duty here, where he hired 2 guys to do the job of one?
Yeah, we talked about this off the podcast, but it's very similar to saying, I have 2 NFL starting quarterbacks. You might as well just say we couldn't find one person that we felt fit to do the job.
Right.
And, what does that say to those 2 guys? Like, okay, here's my side of the house. Here's your side of the house. Didn't that just happen with the head coach and our GM? Didn't that literally just happen, where we had a house divided so much so to where you felt you needed to do something so drastic as to part ways with both of them right before the playoffs started, which everybody in the world agreed the timing was absolutely horrible. So what do? We divide the house purposefully instead of it happening on its own. I don't understand the thinking behind it. So I guess I do need to reserve judgment, give it time. But that's my gut reaction, is this is exactly what you didn't want happening before, and you're just letting it happen again now. Now we have 3 factions, head coach and these 2 individuals that don't have this level of experience yet, because they haven't done it to this degree. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and I just am fully on board with you there in terms of just the frustration. We're going with a first-time head coach, a first-time experiment at GM. And on top of that, the president, Josh Kroenke, or whatever you want to call him, in a press conference seems to be shooting from the hip with his comments, where he's mentioning, I personally don't see that we wouldn't go into the second apron. But then he turned around and said, basically, well, if we did go into the second apron and anybody got injured, we're trading number 15. And it's like, number one, in this press conference that has nothing to do with Jokic, do not bring up his name at all. Like, bring up his name in terms of greatness. Don't bring it up in terms of trade talks. Don't bring it up in terms of him potentially not re-signing, which he did in the conference as well. Like, what are you doing? Are you trying to put your entire fan base at unease? Because let's be real, if your reason for not going into the second apron is because if you get an injury, you're going to have to trade Jokic, that means you didn't want to go into the first apron to begin with, and you're trying to fearmonger people away from thinking that we need to dive into the second apron. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can see that to a degree where it's like lower the expectation. I could see him doing that. I personally, I'm not going to bury the guy for that, although it's pretty bad. I mean, there's no denying it. I'm thinking one of two things. One, he may have heard somewhere from Jokic's camp that he isn't going to resign unless changes happen, and he's the roster's shaping up the way he wants it. So how do you battle that in the press? Exactly what he just did. We don't want to have to do it, but it's an option. So obviously there's no validity to that comment. I'm not a Nuggets insider, but I can't help but wonder if he was going on the offensive after hearing something from Jokic camp about him potentially not resigning. So that's the first kind of place I react. The second place, I think we're seeing a live example of his fear right now with the Celtics. So we have Tatum blows out his Achilles. This season is a complete wash for them. So what do? They trade Porzingis. They trade Holiday. People are talking about Brown. I doubt Brown gets traded. But they're in a space from a Celtics standpoint where they have to completely wash the season. And who knows, maybe even beyond that, right? If he doesn't recover, because an Achilles is not exactly an injury stars return from at a high level. And he may be thinking like, okay, Murray blows out his Achilles next year. What do we do as a franchise? And so I can see it from one of those two places personally, or he could have just been, blabbing his mouth. So hopefully it gets buried in the news quickly with the draft, with, anything else the Nuggets may make happen over the next couple months. Because if it does linger and those comments circle back and circle back and circle back, I think we're in some trouble with 15 staying in town.
Yeah, it unfortunately made national headlines, and it's understandably so. But to be frank, honestly, I was pretty angry that he said it in general, the re signing aspect. So my first thought process was that he was correct in saying that he could sign it today, but he'd make more money if he signs tomorrow. I mean, next
Mhm.
year,
Mhm.
because you know how the salary goes. Every year the maximum goes up. And the way he represented it was that he's going to resign. It's just a matter of when. But the way he started it off saying he's probably not going to sign the deal I put in front of him, that's what rubbed people the wrong way. And you could be right. He could be setting himself up to kind of be like, oh, I told you these things could happen. But the Nuggets hopeful in me is saying that basically, as far as the trade comment goes, he was trying to prep the fan base for, look, we're not going to go into the second apron because if someone gets injured, then we have to make some drastic changes. But in my opinion, to equate it to the Celtics is a little bit tough because they were well into the second apron,
That's
like
true.
well into it. And I think those changes happen whether or not they lost Jason Tatum, if they lost the championship. Maybe not quite as severe. Maybe they didn't lose quite as many players for almost near nilts compared to their talent levels.
Mhm.
But I do think, and I did think when all those deals were getting made, that it wouldn't last. That it was, especially since all those deals got made and then they immediately sold the team to someone else. They're like, hey, here's your luxury bill. That will always be interesting to me. But in general, I'm going to remain hopeful that number one, Jokic doesn't really want to chase like some type of lucrative offer somewhere else. And luckily there was a few NBA insiders that came on afterwards. They were like, yeah, no, that's nothing's going to happen there. He's staying there. But anything can happen. It's our worst fear as Nuggets fans is that potentially happening.
Yeah, it was good to see Sham come out and be like, no, they don't want to trade him. He doesn't want to be traded. Which he doesn't want to be traded on June 25th, 2025.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? If this franchise continues to fail him, how he'll feel a year from now, or if, one of his beloved teammates, all of a sudden doesn't want to be here either. So many variables can change. So it's this moment. I don't want to overreact to it. To your point, like he's not going anywhere. They don't want him to go anywhere. And as you talk through that Celtics things, I think you're right. The same thing happened to us. Maybe not. We didn't spend as much money, but we lost Brown. We lost KCP.
Yeah.
They lose Porzingis, they lose Drew Holiday. Those are, prominent veteran role players from that team that are gone. And they may, like you said, they may have been gone whether he blows his Achilles or not. But I would love for them to spend into that second income for so many reasons, whatever flexibility they can or cannot do with the roster. I'm always a fan of spending more money, especially when it's not mine.
Right. Yeah, that's the best kind. Yeah, like I mean, if you think about it, like you go to let's say a resort and they're like, oh, here's $100 gift card. You're like, yep, this food tastes so much better.
Like, do you notice the crisp that you start using adjectives and things you've never
Right?
done before? You're like, the acidity of this
Right?
sauce, this
Yeah. Remember how I said I don't have a great taste palette? I'd be all of a sudden be going, oh, is that cumin I taste? Is that a touch of paprika?
you'll have to go back and ask the chef for me, because
Yeah.
I'm dying to know.
Send my regards. So yeah, the draft is going on currently, as you mentioned. Unfortunately, this year, Nuggets fans, I have been so disassociated from it because it hurts me to know that, there's not going to be any action on our front. I'm hopeful that we'll see some type of trade or, bare minimum, they throw some cash for a second round pick. That would be nice. But, and let's be real, I'm just saying that would be nice just to see a transaction. Because at this point, I just don't think there's going to be any transactions. And it's a really bad offseason when you're like, could we maybe get a second round pick?
Yeah, yeah. This ain't the NFL. Although, hey, Jokic was drafted in the second round.
Right? We could always get Yoke Jr. And then
Yeah, it is a tough feeling to just sit back and watch all of our competition get better. We talked about this before. It's just, it stings. And it may not be our time. Obviously, trade deadline, everybody keeps bringing it up. That may be our moment in time. But man, you see all these moves happening and you can't help but feel like, strike while the iron's hot, where these GMs seem to be willing and open to making deals right now. And it's a commonplace. There's no guarantees come trade deadline, especially when it comes to injury and things like that. But as of right now, we're quiet as a church mouse.
in the meantime, the championship Thunder had a pick at 15. They've got another pick at 24. And I mean, there's just no way around it. It hurts. The Rockets just drafted a center at 10th overall after getting Kevin Durant in an offseason when they were number 2 in the standings last year. It's a hard pill to swallow. But I mean, when it comes down to it, like obviously we're not going to be able to make any of the moves we want to make. We are going to be a dark horse contender next year. Although it hurts not to add, at least we have a competitive basketball team to watch, is like what we have to ultimately hang our hats on, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, agreed. And KC, it's funny they pick up, it says center, probably power forward / center, 6'9", 270. And I'm just thinking, there's just another body they're going to throw at Jokic. come playoff time.
So that is the best strategy. You just need big men to throw at him. Doesn't matter. Like honestly, if you can throw enough big men at him, they don't even necessarily need to be that great. You just need to be able to throw big bodies at him and big bodies at him. Like it reminds me of the Lakers. Like not that the guys were scrubs, but like Dwight Howard at the tail end of his career and all those centers that they had on that team, they were all bodies at that point in their careers. But they got it done just because they just kept throwing bodies at him.
Yep. And then it was funny to see the Jazz player who got drafted say that the Jazz was not one of his intended destinations.
Are you serious?
So
Yes, I'm so happy about that.
he's like, man, I got to go to Utah of all places. So
Yeah, as you guys may well know if you caught some earlier episodes, our nephew Ben and his father are diehard Jazz fans. So it brings us much joy when they fail, and they're in a great period of failure at the moment.
yeah, I gave him a rough time and said, well, they did get the second best player from his team in college, which is just a little bit of a jab because typically if you're an NBA player, just getting drafted more times often than not, you're the best player on the team.
And then I threw in that secondary jab of who had a losing record and did not make the March Madness tournament.
Yeah, that is a good point for all our
That
listeners
is
out there.
wild.
You have two, I'd say lottery. When does the lottery stop? 14?
I'm not sure, something like that.
Yeah, so two, not just lottery picks, two top 5 NBA prospects, and you don't even make a winning record in the Big Ten and don't even
Yeah.
make the playoffs. March
Yeah.
Madness playoffs, whatever you want to call it.
Right. Well, speaking of playoffs,
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
we got this team that made their first playoff in quite a while last season, the Denver Broncos. We would like to get into a little bit more on their front. Vinny, thinking about the offseason additions that have been made, what do you think is the biggest hole on the team at this point in time?
Ooh, that's a good one. Biggest hole. I mean, I would probably say wide out core.
Okay. I'm between them and the running backs just because we haven't seen anything from running backs yet, but I'm more encouraged about the running back room than the wide receiver room, honestly. I'm more hopeful.
Yeah. And whether it's Ingram is so darn talented that they ran him with the wideouts, or our wideout core is not what it needs to be, that they wanted to see what Ingram could do with them, yet to be seen. But I can't help but look at that as a sign or a knock against the wide receiving core versus a strength of Ingram.
Yeah.
And, it feels like one injury away from us, we're like, who are we throwing the ball to?
Yeah. And luckily we do have Evan Ingram. That being said, I mean, you're totally right. As much as we love Cortland Sutton, he's missed, 2 seasons? And then, young guys back behind him. Ingram's got his own injury history.
Yep.
So we could be pretty close to starting a whole wide receiver core of, pretty young guys. Borderline terrifying.
But I've said it before that if anything, that's where we make up for it with Peyton.
Yeah.
Just his ability to game plan, his ability to make wide receivers. He has a long history of not necessarily top 5 wide receiver talent, and that could be a result of Drew Brees. It could be a combination of both. But, he's got a history of some guys that weren't exactly household names that turned into household names, as a result of his system.
Yeah.
So, although it is something where I'm like, this could get ugly fast. That if I'd rather it be there than, having a big holes at cornerback or any other kind of position on the D. So I'm okay with it, but that's probably where I would lean.
Yeah, and in general, obviously, you got a young quarterback, you would want to hopefully be able to give him those tools. But on the bright side, the fact that I feel like we kind of got a guy, I'm a lot less worried about wide receivers because decent quarterbacks make decent wide receivers, if you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So that does at least ease my burden a little bit on that front. But that being said, I would like to kind of bring up the Denver Broncos schedule. So just you want to do overall impressions of each team that we're playing, or do you want to go WLs? Where would you like to pivot with that?
Yeah, it's tough because oftentimes the way they rank it is like the win-loss from prior season. Like, oh, their strength of schedule is this based off last season. But so much time in the NFL, like teams just drastically change where the win-loss record last year shouldn't even be like, look at the 49ers. Like, oh man, if you have the 49ers on your schedule, that's a tough strength of schedule. You play them twice. And then what happened last year, right?
Yeah, they can turn things around quick. I don't know if I would.
Well, it works both ways, right? Like last season to this season. So the strength of schedule will look not as bad if you have the Niners on your schedule. But if McCaffrey stays healthy, all of a sudden it's like that's a 12, 13, 14 win team. So that's what I'm saying. I don't really ever go think about strength of schedule too much. So, I don't know. Maybe let's do this in quarters, or I know there's 17. I know there's 17 games, but we're math majors. What's 17 divided?
First quarter.
Put your words up.
You got to be like those coaches. You got to win the first quarter in order to get to the second quarter.
Hey, you can't lose.
Even though there's not 16 games anymore.
you can't win the game in the first quarter, but you can lose the game.
You know, that is a fact.
I mean,
So we'll start things off here. So week 1, we've got the Titans, September 7th, 4:05 p.m. That is correct, at home. Now, everybody's got that chalked up as a dub. I say I'm with them. Titans just still a team that I think lacks identity is the best way to say it. They're not far removed from being able to at least compete. But I think as is, they kind of lost their mojo. They got rid of Derrick Henry, and it's been downhill ever since.
Yeah, you get rid of your, franchise player, and then you also get rid of your head coach, who maybe wasn't the most successful coach in their history, but pretty darn close. And so much so that the Patriots snapped him up right away without hesitation. So, yeah, I feel comfortable coming out home opener, getting a W against, to your point, a team that's still trying to find their identity, newer coaching staff. I'm trying to think, did they end up drafting a quarterback, or are they still rocking with, was it Levis?
Wait, didn't they have the first pick and get the first quarterback off the board?
See, I'm struggling here.
I'm pretty sure they got, let's see, yep, Cam Ward, first pick.
So I watched a lot of college football just in general. Cam Ward, he's legit, man.
Oh yeah, legit, huh?
I don't know if it's because he just has an ego, or
I could tell.
if he was just that comfortable in his, offensive sets, but nothing panicked the dude. There were some pretty dumb clips where he's literally just standing flat-footed, being a jerk about it.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And zipping the ball, but even outside of that, like, you could just tell, like, he knew when it was money time. Like, he would just turn his game, like, okay, 3rd and 12. This is where quarterbacks make the money, and he would just find ways to deliver. And yes, it's college, but he did it so well that he's number 1 overall pick. So that being said, you're still a rookie quarterback. Welcome to the NFL moment for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely see our defense being a little bit intimidating for a rookie, especially when he looks to his wide receivers and they're just smothered. So I'm still pretty confident with saying a dub there. You still at a dub there?
Yeah. I would say we're gonna get the first taste of what Cam Ward can bring. He'll have some flashes. He'll like I said, he'll convert some money downs where you're like, okay, but I think it'll be too much for that opener for him.
So the Colts are interesting because
Richardson, for the first time in NFL history, pulled himself out of the game because he was, out of breath.
That was wild. Right? I don't think that was the reason, if you get what I mean. I think he was protesting in a way. Yeah, they're the team that drafted Tyler Warren this year, so he could have an explosion and be a decent player. They've got Michael Pittman Jr., who's a stud.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think their defense is solid, so they could be a surprising team this year. But Anthony Richardson's definitely a question mark. I mean, matter of fact, he's questionable on the depth chart right now.
Yeah, I forget what injury he had, but he had something. I forget if it was upper body, if I remember correctly. But seeing his leadership year 1, much left to be desired. I'm sure the organization's feeling the same way. Now, is that just, some immaturity coming out? Could be, but I would agree, just looking at his trajectory. And it's interesting right away. It's like, okay, quarterback versus quarterback. It's the first place we just naturally go in these matchups.
Yeah. I mean, and the NFL is the one league where a single player can determine that much, like NBA, a single player does, Jokic definitely moves the rock, but if you can win with a team in the NBA, like Pistons, like there's been teams to do it. There is examples in the NFL where like a defense has carried, but it's one of those leagues where you need one of those guys.
And I'm trying to think. So Titans, we got Tyjae Spears, and then who was that? Not Jonathan Taylor, but that other running back last year for the Colts.
Oh, give me a second. I moved away from their depth chart. Yeah, I don't know these guys. Adonai Mitchell is their second string. Oh, sorry, that's their wide receiver. Khalil Herbert, which he's from the Bears originally.
Whoever it was must have left.
They have DJ Giddens at 3rd on the depth chart.
Okay, so first 2 weeks, Tyjae Spears and whoever else for the Titans, and then Jonathan Taylor, who It's definitely a shadow of his former self. Because I mean that's what I want to see early on next season is if and or how we've improved against the run.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, to call Jonathan Taylor a shadow of his former self, I don't know, man. He played 14 games last year and had 1,430 yards, 11 touchdowns.
It's pretty darn good.
I did not know he did that well. Like,
Check your fantasy lineup, for your mock drafts, people.
dude, like, by all means, like, when he had the 1,800-yard season, he averaged 5.5 yards. And last year he was 4.7. But I don't know. That's pretty dang impressive. So that's a good challenge for us in week 2. But I'm still marking it as a dub.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how we play against the run then. If he gives us fits on the road, you know how tough it is to win on the road. But then again, Richardson, if he's not playing up to par, won't do much for the Colts. So yeah, I'm hesitant, but I'll go with you. 2-0 start.
Yo, that's what I like to hear. All right, so moving on to week 3, another away game with the Chargers. And so obviously Justin Herbert, they had an addition of Najee Harris, and they also got a Marion Hampton in the draft. So obviously, I mean, you know, as much as I like our boy JK, I think they definitely upgraded the running back room. And then their wide receivers crew, it looks like it's relatively the same with Lad McConkey, Quentin Johnson, Mike Williams. Looks like they have Will Disley. I don't know if they had him last year or not. I don't recall. But other than that, they've got that stud right tackle, Joe Alt. And then on the defense, look, I think they got Khalil Mack this offseason, which obviously he's on the outer end of his career. Or no, I think they actually had him last season. Sorry. They lost the D end. Well, I'm going to draw a blank on his name. Bosa. Yep. So I think that's a negative, but I know he wasn't what he used to be, but he is still a guy that garnered attention for people.
100%.
But now this is our first real test, to be real. And I honestly, off the top of my head, couldn't tell you the last time we beat the Chargers. Did we beat them last year? Do you remember?
I thought we beat them the first time and lost the second.
That might be the case. I'm drawing a blank here. Let me see if I can.
But obviously,
that'll probably take too long to look up.
Obviously, Harbaugh knows how to put together a team. Conkey going into his sophomore season, he had a great, freshman season. He's going to be up there in catches. I don't know how many he had last year, but I wouldn't doubt to see him in that, 100 catch territory.
Definitely, I'd say it's a promise because so he had 82 receptions with 112 targets.
Yeah.
And then 1,149 yards, 7 touchdowns. So, like, clearly with the targets at that level, I don't see drop off in production there.
Yeah, I agree. So, he'll be a tough guard because he's not your traditional outside receiver either. He puts some pressure on the slot, which maybe our rookie from Texas will get his real taste of the NFL that third weekend.
And that's what some of the best wide receivers are doing now anyways, is putting some pressure in the slot. So that being said, I think I'm going to go with the homer route and give myself a dub on this one. I think that we're going to be off to that hot start. I think our defense is going to smother them, and we're going to pull out a win on the road.
Did we beat the Chargers last year at all? As much as I would love to see a 3-0 start, I think this might be our first wake-up call of the season. Harbaugh finds a way to get it done. 2-1 to start the season with a loss, division loss. Those happen quite a bit anyways on the road.
We did lose twice to the Chargers last year.
The streak continues, not in our favor, to start the season on the road.
In week 6, they beat us 23-16. And then in week 15, which this one was actually a heartbreaker, 34-27. And if I remember right, that game, it was like we should have won it, but we ended up losing it. But that being said, a loss is a loss.
Yeah, that could have clinched the playoffs for us, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Instead of us backing in with Kansas City. And I mean, let's be real too, they should have beat Cincinnati too. So overall, it was just not ideal. And then so moving on to week 4, we've got the Bengals. This one looks like it's a 8:15 matchup, so kind of a really late game.
Either Sunday night or Monday Night Football.
Yeah, Monday Night Football, that is correct, on ABC. So real quick, Cincinnati, obviously, they've got Joe Cool. They've got Joe Burrow at the helm. They've got Chase Brown at running back, which I honestly don't know this guy
He
very
had
well.
he had a great season last year.
990 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns.
And
Oh, it
then
looks
look at
like
his
he's a receiving threat.
look at his
54 receptions, 360 yards, 4 touchdowns. Yeah, definitely a decent season. And then behind him, they got Zach Moss, Samaje Perine,
hey, he's
little
back.
Bronco nugget
Back
there.
to his squad.
And then obviously the wide receiver corp. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. I don't even know if I need to mention anyone else. But they got Mike Gesicki again. So super high octane offense. Defense, I don't see anything off bat that really jumps out at me there. I'm sure I'm mistaken. But what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I don't know how you couldn't be high on the Bengals this year. The way they finished last season on a tear. Obviously, they started the season just as bad as or as strong as they finished the season. The way they started the season was so horribly bad
Yeah.
that it took that, Herculean effort at the end of the season to even be in playoff contention.
Yeah. And
But
it was amazing because they were in the picture and it just seemed like everything that could go wrong did go wrong for them.
100%. So I think this is their kind of get back here. It's been 3 years now since the Super Bowl loss.
I think so.
Man, time flies. It might even be 4 years because it was
Yeah, because
back to back Chiefs.
did
So
they
it's
win back to back?
well, I mean, they were in the
Oh
Super
yeah,
Bowl.
because they were going for a three-peat, right?
Yeah, they were in the Super Bowl. So and then it was Rams and Bengals 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
So that Joe Burrow contract has had a chance to normalize itself a little bit because as soon as you pay that quarterback, can't pay nobody else. I think this is
it is what it is because normally the cap always inflates and it ends up just being another deal. You know what I mean? Like, and it's always the case is the next person to get paid gets paid. We made this comment a long time back with like Michael Porter. It's like, well, what are you gonna do? Lose the asset? No, you're gonna pay the guy. So it sounds like you're leaning towards an L on our
I am. So
home
I think we're going to
home
start out.
Monday nighter against the Bengals.
We're going to start out 2-2, and panic is going to set in Bronco country. But hold tight. It's just the first quarter. Okay, we're not struggling yet. But I'm definitely high on the Bengals this year, and I think Burrow's ticked off. Higgins is back. They got no excuses now. I think we're going to see a lot of good things from the Bengals, unfortunately for us.
Yeah, I did end up marking it as an L as well. My main concern on this one is just it will be a shootout. Not to say that our defense isn't great, but when you run into those high octane offenses, a lot of times it's just a shootout. And I just don't think that our offense will be running on full cylinders at that point in time. And that's kind of why I think that we'll end up pulling an L on that one.
And that's okay. It's a road Monday night. Who knows? Maybe they'll pull out
It's at home.
at home. Ooh, man, that's tough. Take an L at home like that. But I'm still going with it 2-2 for the first quarter for Broncos.
See, I've got 3-1, so my Broncos team is better than Vinny's Broncos team.
Your Broncos prediction is better. I
I'm
hope
wearing those orange glasses.
that it's correct because, man, talk about a great start to the season. 3-1 with 2 road wins and then a win on Monday night. That would be a great start to the season.
Right. So what are you thinking? Do we move on to quarter 2 or save that one for the next episode?
Yeah, I think we save the next set for our next one, and I'll be a little more prepared on the next set too.
Yeah, and I take full responsibility and blame for him not being prepared because I threw this on him last minute, and he's a champ about it.
If you're here with us 40 minutes into this conversation, drop us a follow, throw us a comment. You love the content, and it's okay that we, look like a fool every once in a while. There's no problem with that.
Yeah, just keep on coming back for more because, I mean, think about it. Like Adam Silver watches the podcast.
Yeah.
Matt Stone and Trey Parker watch the podcast. This is all established canon within this podcast. So
I agree.
if those guys can, so can you.
Yeah. By the time we break down the Chiefs game, the Kelsey brothers and Swift will be listening in too. So now's your chance to get in before all the bandwagon starts up.
You never want to jump in midway. Start off when it's early on and, ride the ride. But that being said, we want to thank everybody for, joining us for this ride where Denver Gridiron and Hoops has been here with you, for us, by us. No, I'm just kidding. This isn't FUBU. But no, seriously, it is because it's for us, by us. But anyways, Denver Gridiron and Hoops, thank you so much and have a good night, guys.
Peace.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible.
In the Mile High City, where the lights shine bright, the Broncos fight hard in the cold, clear night. With every Hail Mary, our hopes take flight, and the Nuggets dribble dreams into the spotlight. 24 seconds, the clock's racing down. Denver Gridiron and Hoops, we stand tall. With every dunk and three, we give it our all. In the city of champions, we heed the call. Together as one, we rise, never fall. With a quick crossover and a thunderous slam, the crowd's rolling wild, it's now or never, man. From the court to the field, we stake our claim. Together we'll rise, united in the game. Hit sticks collide, feel the energy surge. One we rise, never fall. So let's lace up tight, let the games begin. In Denver's heart where we all win.